thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, taking time out of your schedule and everything. How does it feel to be speaking at the Mondavi?
The Mondavi didn't exist when I was a student.
Really?
So I can't wait to get in there and look at it. I was super excited that they wanted to have me here for an event. And, you know, I end up doing a lot of speaking engagements these days in my line of work, but a lot of them in colleges on the East Coast and stuff. So this is the one I've been looking forward to.
So I wanted to start off with some questions about, obviously you cover, you know, the presidential, just everything regarding the president, right? Obviously the president is tweeting constantly, he's very involved on social media, and then obviously like fake news kind of becoming like a staple of the current news media. So how do you continue to report the truth every day with these kind of constant, you know, barrages by the president saying that what you're doing isn't credible?
You know, as news, I've been working as a reporter for a long time now, and I know my colleagues and I are quite used to being criticized a lot or having a lot of pushback from other administrations when we write stories that they're not happy with. But, you know, in the past, if you got to the truth, you know, you could count on at least the prior presidents or prior government officials almost always at least not arguing that there is some alternate reality. And so it's very different now. And I feel like it's galvanized the press in some way. There's a lot more interest in what we do, and maybe in some quarters even more respect for what we do, but at the same time we're under this steady, constant campaign, an effort by the president and his supporters to discredit us. You know, there's a lot riding on this, and this is something I plan to talk about tomorrow. I mean, in the Mondavi event, it's not just Trump and Russia and what did I write about for the Washington Post. It's the bigger stakes of this broader moment that we're in which it seems increasingly like a very fragile sense of our grip on reality sometimes.
So obviously this is one of the, you know, more anti-press administrations that we've seen. You know, back in October, like Jim Acosta got his press pass revoked for a little bit, and that was, you know, a huge thing for a little while. So, like you specifically, how has your relationship with the White House changed, like, since this president has taken office in particular?
Well, I'll tell you one of the things, you know, that's really up close and personal for me, which is, you know, I've written stories that have really upset this White House. I wrote stories that was involved in our coverage that led to the firing of Mike Flynn, the National Security Advisor. But even more than that, like I wrote stories in which I had transcripts of the president's calls with the president of Mexico. Wrote stories about things that he revealed to the Russian ambassador in the Oval Office that were classified. And one of the things that I discovered when I was writing the book and going through research was that these were things that he was railing about inside the Oval Office, stories that I had written. There's a memo that Jim Comey, the former FBI director, wrote after he had a meeting with the president, in which he talks about Trump telling him, we need to go after these leakers, we need to put reporters in jail again, we need to put heads on pikes in terms of sources, and they are specifically referring to stories about me. So you're right, this is like, there is this kind of aspect of this that we almost from the beginning kind of were able to laugh about, or at least kind of treat as a badge of honor. He's attacking us, he doesn't like what we're writing, that means we're hitting a nerve. But since then it's gotten a lot more uncomfortable. Right? So an attack like that, things he's talking about putting reporters in jail, Trump supporter, Florida, mailed parcel bombs to a number of news organizations last year. The Washington Post, we don't allow tour groups in the building anymore for the first time in my career. It's real danger. It's real.
Definitely. And going off of that, you know, how does it feel kind of to have this like increased sort of danger surrounding your job? Obviously, you know, being a journalist has always had, you know, this kind of inherent danger of just, you know, you never quite know who you're going to run into, who's going to, you know, dislike what you're saying. But like there's really been this increased, even like internationally, like there are journalists jailed in, I don't even know how many countries. I did a story on that at some point, but just, you know, there's this increased number of journalists being jailed, you know, in their own countries.
And we're used to seeing the United States broadly and the president specifically as standing up for the freedom of the press, protecting the press historically. Presidents never like the coverage they get, but we're used to them at least standing up for the First Amendment. Trump does the opposite, right? So he gives autocrats around the world a lot of cover.
Mm-hmm.
His constant claims of fake news, his constant descriptions of the press as enemy of the people.
Sure.
Other dictators, other autocrats, other thugs are echoing those words as they put reporters in jail or kill them. And, you know, we saw it this past year with somebody who worked for the Post, Jamal Khashoggi, killed in a consulate in Turkey by Saudi operatives.
Right.
The president basically saying, well, we really don't know if the Crown Prince was responsible for this or not. All my intelligence services are saying so, but what do I know?
Yeah.
And that's created a climate of impunity around the world that's really, really unsettling.